What's up, and welcome back to another Star Wars Sunday here on Starlight Beacon. We're going to be talking about Lucasfilm Games announcement and EA losing the exclusive rights to produce Star Wars games, and some other things. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Parker will be joining me a little bit later in the stream, but for now, it's just me. So yeah, let's get into this discussion. Ooh, just losing my voice here. Give me a second. Yeah, so this is a pretty big announcement. I've been talking to JBM and Donovan and Parco, and everyone in Discord. I think the entire Star Wars community as a whole is pretty excited about this news. One, after the acquisition of Lucasfilm's LucasArts, which was the original gaming studio for Lucasfilm, closed, and a lot of people were, especially in the gaming community, were upset because LucasArts, man, especially for me, like LucasArts was a huge part of my childhood. Like a lot of the Star Wars games, all of the Star Wars games came out of LucasArts. And not only was it a kind of a blow for the Star Wars gaming community, but the gaming community as a whole, because a lot of the stuff, technology that we see in video games today is because of the things that they were doing over at LucasArts Studios. So that was major news back in 2012, 2011, 2012. So it's good to see that Lucasfilms once again has a dedicated studio to produce its own video games. And then with that is the news that LucasArts, Disney has decided to get out of their exclusivity deal with EA for the distribution and production of their Star Wars content. So that's also a positive, because most people, if you play video games, EA is not a very popular company. They had a run. I don't even know if this is still a thing, but I know they had a run for a while there that they were voted like the worst company to work for like a couple years straight. Like it was pretty bad. Not a very popular studio. Like they were back in the early 2000s, EA was like couldn't miss. Like everything they touched, everything they put out was gold. And then as they got bigger and bigger, like the product just got worse and worse, and the gameplay experience, the microtransactions, everything that they started implementing into the video games started to bog down the actual gameplay and the enjoyment. So much so that a lot of the gamers soured on EA, and a lot of like stuff like NBA Live and Madden. I think Madden has had more success than most of the other games, and it continues to be successful. But a lot of their other projects and properties have suffered. Like Need for Speed was in a drag and a funk for a while. It started to make a turnaround in the last, let's say, like couple years, but still, it's not nowhere near as popular of a property as it used to be back in the early 2000s. And I'd say that for like most of their properties. And FIFA, I think, is an exception. I think FIFA and Madden are the only two properties that people still like from EA. So that's that. And then of course with that, they had this mismanagement of the first Battlefront game, which was a huge blunder on EA's part. They've had 3 AAA platforms thus far for Star Wars: Battlefront 1, Battlefront 2, and Fallen Order. Fallen Order is one of my favorite games of all time. Like that game, I've played that game and I've replayed that game like four, five or six times now. Um, it's that good. It's enjoyable. There like no microtransactions. There's a great storyline. It's not perfect. It has its flaws. Like there's some issues with the combat system and the mechanics that will get frustrating at times, but the overall gameplay and experience and of that game has kept me invested, and I'm definitely looking forward to EA making more Fallen Order games. I'm looking forward to them expanding on that franchise and building more on the lore of that game. Um, Star Wars Squadrons 2, I would definitely love for EA to continue producing those games. I would like a sequel to Squadrons that expands it a lot more. Like, give me all three eras of Star Wars. Give me like the prequels and give me the original trilogy stuff and the sequel trilogy stuff. Give me, more content within that universe, because is one of the fun. It's an enjoyable flight simulator. It's not a hardcore flight simulator, but it's not too arcadey. I think it hits that nice middle ground. I love how they balance the game in multiplayer, and um, it's a really strong game. I wish they would have invested more into the game to give us a better or more complete experience, because it's honestly not a complete game. But what we got was phenomenal. So, but because it's not a full game, I can't put it in there with the rest of the other three AAA properties like Fallen Order and Battlefront 1 and 2. But Battlefront 1 and 2, that was rough. That was a really rough launch for EA. Battlefront 1 was probably one of the worst things that they've ever put out. It had no content. It was bogged down with microtransactions. And for those who don't know, microtransactions are like in-game purchases that you have to make after you've already purchased the game. So like they were like cosmetic things and in-game currency that you have to acquire in order to get certain what do they had? Like they had these combat cards that upgrade your characters and upgrade the different classes in the game, give you different weapons and better weapons. It was a horrible game. Like, it had no story mode. There was no single player mode, no campaign, just some original trilogy maps. And it was honestly a worse game than the original Battlefront that came out on PlayStation 2 and Xbox 360 and GameCube back in the day. Like no Xbox One, not even Xbox 360, Xbox One, PlayStation 2 and GameCube. Like, it was wild. I couldn't believe like they really put that game out like as incomplete as it was and charged people $60 for it. So that really set people off. And then, of course, this is in the midst of all of the sequel trilogy drama. So like that didn't help at all. But Battlefront 2 was an improvement from that game, but it's still, the single player campaign wasn't a full campaign. I think, what is it, like 8 hours, if that, of content in the single player campaign. They marketed it as a Imperial story, but you're an Imperial for like all of 2 missions, and then you defect and go to the Rebellion. So that was kind of not even kind of, it was a really bad misdirect on EA's part. Because really the bulk of the campaign is you are a rebel, an Imperial defector. You don't play as an Imperial for like too many missions. So that was an odd and frustrating direction for a lot of people. I wonder if we'll get it. Yes, Callisto, how good to see you. How have you been? And I think we will get a KOTOR. I think we'll get a KOTOR reboot. I don't think we'll get a sequel. I think they're going to reboot KOTOR, and I'll explain why. Because I'll probably wait till like Parco gets on because I've got another idea for something for a game in that era that I'm going to talk about. But once everyone is online, then we'll talk about it. Honestly, I'm excited for the Indiana Jones game. I am too. Drunk 3PO. I am too. Like I played the original Indiana Jones game on Nintendo 64, and I will say that I probably my memory of the game is probably better than the gameplay for the game. But even still, I'm looking forward to the game. Uh, Me and JBM and I think Monty and definitely Parco and Donovan and a lot of people in the Discord were talking about the game. So like um with games like Uncharted and some other platformers that are similar or at least in the same vein, same genre as Indiana Jones, we've seen how that's been handled and executed. And who's producing that game? Is that Ubisoft? Uh, yeah, thanks 3PO. Appreciate it. We've been doing this since what July? July. So yeah, this is one of the shows that we do on the channel. We've got the cookout, which is on Saturdays at 8 p.m. and then we've got a Marvel show on Fridays, which we talk about Division One. So um definitely come back. And thank you for the well wishes. Yeah, who's developing this Indiana Jones game? I want to double check. Indiana Jones. Bethesda. Okay. So yeah. Oh, with Bethesda producing this game, I've got all the confidence in the world. Bethesda does, and ZeniMax handle um, Elder Scrolls, and so I think if they make a solid single player campaign, like in the likes of an Elder Scrolls mixed with some, Uncharted, and give us like 100, at least 100 hours of gameplay, I'd say in a single player campaign, I think that game is going to be great. It's going to be phenomenal. Like, I mean, you get to, um, you definitely want to. He's an explorer. He's an archaeologist. Like we want to dive into that. Like, just cram as much lore into the game as possible, and make it, a fun RPG open world game that we can pick up and put down and come back to as many times as you like. Like that's what I would like to see with that game. Um, I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna knock it out the park. Um, and I just like that EA doesn't have exclusive rights to it because there's so many other great studios that make video games nowadays that would do a wonderful job in my opinion with some Star Wars properties. And like and it also takes some pressure off of EA too, because I think with EA focusing on Battlefront and Fallen Order and just continuing to grow those two properties, I think that is exactly what they should do, because I think they started to figure it out with Battlefront 2. I think if they doubled down on what they were doing with the Battlefront 2 campaign and make it more like Battlefield, give us a truly developed single player campaign where we follow the a story with these soldiers. Like that would be so cool. Like give us something to get really invested in into the characters. And like I felt like with the Battlefront 2 campaign, we didn't spend enough time with the characters to get invested, to care about what was going on in their story. And so I think if they make a campaign for the next Battlefront, with EA, if they give us a fully fleshed out single player mode that follows, like maybe it's Twilight Company, or some another Inferno Squadron was a good idea, but we just didn't spend much time as Inferno Squadron. Like, we started out as Inferno, and we defect to the rebellion, and then now we're fighting for the rebels. Like, give us a story that has more than 10 hours. um do something for, and be more inclusive of the other eras of Star Wars. Like, give us a campaign set in the prequels that follows a battalion of clone troopers. That would be really cool. Maybe to, like, maybe not the 501st or the 212th, which are Obi-Wan and Anakin's divisions, but like another Jedi, or maybe do the Wolf Pack. That would be kind of cool. Or just another, make up a new division and under a new Jedi general that we don't know too much about, and give us that story. That would be kind of cool. You know, set something in the original trilogy following a rebellion faction and an imperial faction, kind of like what we did with Squadrons. I like what Squadrons did with their campaign of going back and forth between the two sides. I like that dynamic. That was kind of cool. Like, follow one squadron on the Imperial side, and then you've got a squadron on the Rebellion, and they both have their share of victories and they both have their share of defeats, but the story never concludes decisively for either side. They could do the same exact thing for Battlefront and make it a longer campaign that people who aren't as invested in the multiplayer aspect can really sink their teeth into. I think that would satisfy a lot of people. Cad, what's going on? Good to see you. Yeah. See, I totally agree. Like, a lot of people, the Clone Wars animated TV show has changed the perception for a lot of people of the prequel era, and I think that a game, but they had Republic Commando back in the day, which followed a was about the clones, and a special division unit of clone troopers. They can do the same thing now on the for Battlefront 3. Give build a campaign around the Clone Wars, following one division of clone troopers. It can be early. It can start early. It's like, what, Clone Wars is 3 years. So, like, give us like 10 hours for each year of the Clone Wars, and watch these characters grow and develop and everything shift as we move closer to Order 66. I think that would be a really cool and emotional, story-driven campaign. Same with we've already seen a campaign. We've seen so many campaigns set in the original trilogy, but like, I think it's a good idea to give the original trilogy some shine. I think if they do an original trilogy campaign, it should be set in the same time period as Squadrons. Like, well, set it after Empire. No, Return of the Jedi. Set it after Return of the Jedi. Like, same time period as Battlefront 2, but give us a squadron of, or a platoon of rebels, Republic troops, and the Imperials, and give us the same type of dynamic that we got in Squadrons, where we go back and forth, and then at the end of it, it's open-ended, so we can get a sequel. Is that Bloodgarn 6? Sorry if I butchered that. Kind of like Lost Stars. Yes, Lost Stars, exactly. I think Lost Stars is one of the best Star Wars novels of any era of Star Wars, pre or post the Disney acquisition. Lost Stars is a great read. recommend that to everyone. But yeah, give us that type of perspective of both sides of the conflict. Humanize both sides of the story, not only the rebels, but give us the side of the story from um, the Imperials. Like I like that. I really like the Imperial viewpoint of the Galactic Civil War told in Lost Stars. I thought that was really compelling. That's a really compelling part of the novel. Um, yeah, like one thing is we hadn't had too many campaigns in the video game set um during the prequels. Like we had video games for, you had Obi-Wan video game, which was when it takes place like a little bit before Phantom Menace and runs you through the Phantom Menace. And then you've got, you know, there was a Clone Wars game. There was Jedi Starfighter. There was a bunch of games set in the prequel era, but we don't get too many games that are about the troops and on the ground level with the clones. Like that would be a really cool one outside of what you call it outside of Republic Commando. I think that Republic Commando was the one game that we actually got a story told from the clone's perspective. Oh, okay, Andrew, what's going on, man? Appreciate you for joining. Yeah, it's gonna be a good stream. What are your thoughts on everyone in the comments actually? What are your thoughts on Lucasfilm Gaming? Like, are you excited? Are you excited about the Indiana Jones announcement? I'm also going to start speculating on some games. I've got a really fire idea for a High Republic game that I'm going to talk about when Parko gets on, because I want to get his raw reaction to it, because I hadn't told anybody about this yet. But I think there's some opportunities now that we've got one, Lucasfilm's gaming coming back, and more studios can now work on Star Wars projects. I will say there was an announcement of an open world Star Wars game being developed by Ubisoft Massive, which, if you don't know, if you've played The Division, Massive is the studio responsible for the Division franchise. And I really like The Division. Well, it's The Division 1 anyway. I didn't play too much of the second of the sequel. But I probably will. I don't know. I just never picked it up. But the first one, like, I put a lot of hours into that first game. I think that from a multiplayer standpoint, multiplayer like role-playing MMO, I think that The Division and Destiny are the future of MMOs. Like, because they allow for cross-platform play, they allow it for an easy transition from PC to PlayStation to Xbox and to any other platform, and allow all these players to play together. And it doesn't sacrifice. It's not like a point and click traditional MMO. Like, it still functions like any other multiplayer game that you can play, like Call of Duty. So you don't lose that audience, but you also maintain the scope and scale of an MMO. Yeah, I really hope we get a lot of new games in the High Republic era. I think we will. I don't see how I don't know why they would invest. The reason why I believe we will get a lot of content outside of the publications is because they've already invested so much into the concept art and just the overall era and story. Like, there's no way we're not going to get more content. We may not get more content following the characters that we see from the publication, but this era is going to get explored a lot more. It's just I just don't see why they would leave that on the table. It doesn't make sense, and it's been well received thus far. I think from what I've seen, a lot of people like the initiative. There are some people who don't, um, who are kind of on the fence about it, but hadn't seen anyone who hated it, which bodes well for me, in my opinion. I think that the Light of the Jedi sets up a lot of things that will have payoff later, and I think a lot of people are waiting for the payoff, and I think the payoff is going to be good. The comic book, um, the High Republic comic book, issue one that follows Keith Trennis, it's a really good story thus far. Keith Trennis is one of my favorite characters now, just based off that comic book. So I'm definitely looking forward to following that narrative and to see where her story goes. Um, they've got some really good master and apprentice dynamics in all of the stories. So that's the strength of it for me. And I want to see more of that, especially with the Jedi, because we didn't get a lot of that in the prequels. Like we don't see, outside of Anakin and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, we don't see too many other master apprentice combos, and we get a lot of it in these books. So I want to see more of that. Lego games, yeah, I think the Lego games are like solid. I think you can't lose with the Lego games. They'll continue to make those, for sure. But the open world Ubisoft game, I think that's going to be the 1313 game, or at least the story of 1313. If you remember, back like a couple months before Disney purchased Lucasfilm, there was a game called 1313 that was announced, and they showed some alpha footage of the game, and it looked great. And if you'll recall, like it was a cover based combat system, which at the time I was like, oh wow, it looks like Gears of War, because it did. Like Gears of War was probably the most popular and successful cover based console combat system at that time, like in 2010, 2011. And so when I saw that trailer for the first time, that's what I thought about was, oh, Gears of War. Like, okay, this is going to be cool. 1313 is set in the underworld, undercity of Coruscant, level 1313. And you played as, I guess, one or two bounty hunters. I don't know if you were in control of both characters or not, but the story followed two bounty hunter mercenaries. And the concept was really cool. Like you get to explore the underworld of Star Wars a bit, which is something that a lot of people have been asking for a long time. And so I think with Ubisoft and Massive handling this, and primarily Massive, Ubisoft is pretty much going to be the executive producer. Like they're going to be helping to fund the project, but Massive is going to be the one that's developing the game. If they give us a Division style Star Wars game set in the underworld of Coruscant, it's going to be spectacular. Like it's going to be like on the Fallen Order level. And what I see is, like, if you've never played the Division, you create your own character, you customize it, you get armor and weapons, cosmetic upgrades and all the other stuff. Like I think they'll incorporate all of that into the gameplay mechanic. I think it won't be a single player campaign with it being open world. I think it'll be more like the Division, where it's an open world multiplayer online experience, where it opens up opportunities for world events, like world bosses and things that happen within the universe that players can experience either solo or with other players or with a group that you form. I think that is the type of online single player cooperative experience that, at least on the consoles, is going to be very prominent going forward, especially with the PlayStation and Xbox embracing cross-platform play, which also increases the gaming and multiplayer experience for a lot of people, because I've got friends that are on PlayStation and I've got friends on Xbox that play the same games, but we all don't often get to play together because we're on different consoles. So with Call of Duty introducing cross-platform play, it's opened up the door for a lot of people who've got friends on either console to play together for the first time. So I think more of those experiences are what I want to see. And I definitely want to see a lot more single player campaigns like Fallen Order. As I was saying prior, Fallen Order, EA should definitely continue to develop that franchise. I want to see what they do with that. I want them to continue to build on that story and keep it a contained single player experience and a linear story with a lot of lore around it. I don't want to see a lot of like side missions and side quests. Like keep that story focused and linear, and then just give us more lore and more content around it. Like that's kind of what I want to see. Squadrons was a nice huddle. Oh, P Rich.
What's up?
My man.
What's going on, guys? What'd I miss?
Hey man, I'm just over here. We're talking about the news of Lucasfilm Games being announced, LucasArts returning, because we know what this is. This is LucasArts. The OG Star Wars fans, we know what Lucasfilm Games is, man. This is LucasArts. Man. So I grew up on LucasArts. So like I'm happy to see it back. I think a lot of people are happy to see it back. And also for good and for bad, EA losing its exclusivity to Star Wars.
Yeah, me too. I really I'm glad. I'm excited to see what other companies will do with the Star Wars name, because we saw a little glimpse of what was in the works. Like, I don't know if you guys already talked about like 1313 and like
that's what I'm talking about right now.
Oh yeah,
because
yeah,
because like, all right, so here's what I've said. Here's what I've pitched. Because I definitely wanted to get your thoughts and opinions on this. I think it's a really good idea with massive Ubisoft working on this, right? And that's being the studio that gave us The Division. Have you played The Division 1, 2?
Yes. Yep. I played both of them. Yep.
So just imagine 1313, but with the like in the style of The Division, like same concept of The Division, but on the level of 1313. Yeah, and right. You got cross-platform multiplayer experience. Like you don't have to do like the two that single player, like where it's just a 2-man team. Like, nah, man, let me make my character. Let me make
who
my
I want to be,
underworld person, and let me and my friends havoc on the underworld. Like that's what I want to see.
Or even if they just made it to this a kind of a knockoff version of GTA Online, where it's like a massive open world sandbox of Coruscant. And it's like you guys are pulling different heists on different levels and robbing, you know what I mean? You're just doing all kind of stuff. And like I can see that, but I mean, like, and then I like, how we were talking about galaxies a while ago, right?
Yeah.
You know what? And even if you give like the players like an option, like you might have to grind 100 hours, but there is a way to get a lightsaber, you know what I mean? Attain it or whatever, but you have to grind for it. You have to be like, put hours into it. You know what I mean? It ain't going to just be given to you. Like, you know what I mean? You got to earn that, So, I mean,
I think it would be, so you got, depending on what time period this takes place, right? But you got Crimson Dawn, that the criminal syndicate that Maul controls, right?
Oh yeah,
that they can incorporate into this game. You've got the Hutts, of course, that would be a huge factor, and then you've got like the Pikes and any other criminal syndicate that they want, the Black Sun, all of these different criminal syndicates that are operating during this time period, that you could have like a rep system for, where you work for them, and the more missions you do for them, the more rep you get and the better gear that you get over time. So like,
that'd be tight.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and then there's certain perks and benefits that you get for working for certain factions over the others, but you mercenary, you can work for all of them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I just know,
like,
I just know that I want it to be this, I want the world to feel alive. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That's the biggest thing. If they're gonna make a Star Wars game open world, I want it to be like Knights of the Old Republic.
It has to be a
If it
sandbox.
was, yeah, and Knights of the Old Republic games.
Yeah.
Yes, it's open world, but obviously back then you can like put all these people walking around doing things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't feel quite as alive as I wanted to feel. Nowadays with the technology, I want to be able to I'm like how think about Hitman. You know what I mean? You know how Hitman is, he can walk through the crowd and there. I want to be able to feel that. I want to be able to see the aliens. I want to, I want to be able to just,
even at the time though, that world felt really alive for the time period, right? Like, but no, they couldn't do that now. Like Fallen Order, that's one of the issues I have. One of my issues I have with Fallen Order, because I love that game. Like, don't get it twisted. But the lack of NPCs in the game kind of does make it feel dead. But I
felt like you were going to an empty planet all the time.
Yeah,
every
it's
place
kind of
you were
strange.
abandoned. Yeah,
it's kind of strange. Something that we talked about too up at the top, which I'm going to get back to now, is KOTOR, because Callisto brought this up, that she wanted to see, a KOTOR 3, basically, because a lot of people have been clamoring for KOTOR 3.
Dude, me too. I
think we're going to get a KOTOR reboot, only because the story from KOTOR doesn't fit in the current canon timeline, right? So
in towards Revan and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's not gonna fit. It's not gonna be a smooth fit. Like, they're gonna have to reboot that. The characters are part of canon. Like Revan is canon, and I think Malik is canon, and a lot of the characters are. But I think they're gonna have to the MMO is not canon.
Oh, so okay, that's because I know they have those in the game, so I thought that was more of the rewrite soft boot they were going for.
What just happened? I just lost the.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. I see you.
Okay, we're back now. All right, so I don't know what just happened. Yeah. So, that I would like. I think so. Yeah, KOTOR. Knights of the Old Republic, the MMO, is not currently canon. It's its own entity, but EA is continuing to support because it's bringing in a substantial amount of revenue.
People, dude. I mean, I played it at the beginning of quarantine.
Yeah, so it's like that's still a thing. It's going to be there for a while, but I think that
and a strong player base too.
Oh yeah, like they're not until people stop playing that game. It's going to continue to get support from the development team.
Yeah, I'm in groups and people play it like crazy.
Yeah, until it's like no longer profitable, like they'll continue to support the game. However, with KOTOR, and with Disney and Lucasfilm wanting to make everything that they put out canon and a part of the story, like they're going to have to reboot KOTOR. And I think what I've said prior is that, with Story of Heaven, I think they're going to have to change his fate a little bit. Like, I don't want to see him get redeemed. I think his fall has to be finite. Like, I don't want to see a redemption arc, because I like the idea of Anakin being the first Jedi to fall to the dark side and be redeemed. Because in the prequels, they seem very adamant that, like, once you go down the dark path, like, it's gonna forever consume you. Like, so it's like, if they had an example of that in the past where, somebody did come back from falling to the dark side, then they shouldn't have been so like definitive with those statements. And so I'm of the mind that the same thing happens with Revan, but I think his story ends on Malachor 5 when he activates the super weapon, and I think he dies a Sith Lord. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I would love that.
Because then, if you do a KOTOR reboot and you just set it in the Mandalorian Wars, and you start out as the Jedi Knight Revan, and then you slowly descend into the Sith Lord Revan,
so you make
that would be a dope story.
So you make it more of you don't give the players a choice anymore in terms of like you want to do light. So you just make it kind of like the Fallen Order type of thing, where you're just on a straight trajectory, like you're going to the dark side no matter what.
It's not going to be a single player experience, and we're going to see how war can lead a Jedi down a dark path that is just irredeemable.
Yeah.
but
I can
and
see that, yeah.
not in a way that's like super dark, but like where I understand why and why he makes the decisions that he makes and why he makes the decisions he does. Because in this version of this game, like the Mandalorians that I would put in there are going to be crazy fierce. Like they're going to be just just yo, this whole peace talk, like nah, man. Like
if it was
not even an option, I'm not even gonna. Peace wouldn't even be an option for them at that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So would you make it more of that Fallen Order style instead of that turn-based that we saw in the old? You know what I mean? So it'd be like
carbon cut, copy, paste, Fallen Order, but put it in like make the main character Revan and have Malik and like all of that.
It was funny because with Fallen Order, I thought I wasn't gonna like it as much as I did enjoy it because I was like, how did they like? There's no force powers, you know what I mean? I was like, when, like, you know, I thought it was gonna be all like, but then like they just did the force powers and everything in such a smart way that you know I enjoyed the game so much, you know what I mean? I first, you know, because you don't have all your force powers unlocked. Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't played the game, you know. So it's like I was thinking to myself, I'm like, how are we gonna do the force push? How are we gonna do all this stuff? And how are we gonna? And I was just like, I don't know about it. But then as soon as the more I progressed, the more I got into it, and I was just like, all right, I'm on board. And if they find a smart way to like every arc of the story, he gains like some type of dark side ability. You know what I mean? Like at one point, like a movie clip, and he just ends up activating his force choking somebody in one scene.
Yeah.
Oh, now you got force choke. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It drives the story. Dude,
yes,
like exactly I would love that. Yeah,
like you're so the basically the force abilities, like I would say the force powers that you get in Fallen Order are like his baseline. Like so you get force push, pull, all the baseline. You start out with that. He's already a Jedi Knight. Like it makes no sense for him to not have those abilities. However, his lightsaber skills are something that you upgrade and increase over time. I think the option of dual wielding is something that you can either progress in as a tree. I would kind of take some of what Ghost of Tsushima did with their progression system and like have different. Like I would incorporate the 7 form of lightsaber combat and have you choose which form you want to, focus in. And then like once you've mastered one, you can move to the other and then, I'll progress that way. Or, you can just go through each and
wouldn't it be cool?
Bonuses to each one.
Wouldn't that be so cool if there was like a portion, like if it was truly open world where you can like go back to Coruscant, go to the Jedi Temple, walk around, and then you can train like each, like you said, there was each 7 forms. There's a room for each 7 forms, and you can just go in, train whichever one you wanted, train whatever Jedi master, and learn every single skill. Kind of like just like Fallen Order, where when you unlock an ability, you go back to his training, his flashback training, and like he does the course or whatever. And I'm totally on board with that.
It's that meditation thing. Like you go, you start, you do the whole meditation thing, and like, but he's more of a powerful Jedi. So like he can once he centers himself, he kind of goes to this spiritual plane where he can train or like have it. He should have something on his flagship where he can go train fourth abilities. You know what I'm saying? Like he should have to go back to like or the Ebon Hawk. Like why we can put the Ebon Hawk in there and then just give me a training area on the Ebon Hawk where he does his thing. Like problem solved right there.
Problem solved.
Problem solved. Yeah,
I would love to see Ebon Hawk in current graphics form. Like how much detail they would add, how many Easter eggs they would add. Because like before, it was just like this hub. You just walk around and just it wasn't nothing. You didn't really care what was in it. But now I just feel like with the technology, what fans are expecting to see, you know what I mean? You could do so much. Like even on Fallen Order, your ship wasn't really. I love customizing the color, even though nobody's really going to see it except for you when you're traveling back and forth. And then like even with when you're gathering seeds and stuff for your plants, like I purposely went out to try to look for those seeds because I was like, I want to see this in my ship every time I come.
like all of that. But see, and here's that's the thing about the single player campaigns, right? Like the strategy that they should use with the single player stuff is that give us a linear story. Don't give us side missions like an MMO. Like, don't go that route. Like, give us one single story, but give us a bunch of lore and a bunch of things around and about that focused story that we can go and explore and get more information about by exploring the world. Like, don't give us loot boxes, make us go find, you know, different cosmetic upgrades in the world. Like, oh, you want that lightsaber crystal? All right, well, you got to go fight. This is a rare, you know, magenta crystal that you've got to go and fight a boss for. And you know what I'm saying? Like, give us that. Like, make us play this game so that we can get certain, you know, cosmetic things. Another thing that I want to talk about that we talked about before on this, because we had a gaming discussion previously. I need a pod racer game, dog.
Oh yeah,
I need a pod racer game. I need this.
With the current, like, with after the Mandalorian came out now, and that you got, you know, you had Cobb and this like beat up / speeder, you know, pod dude. Now you can incorporate all the weird little vehicles we see. So now you got, give me a pod racer, but then give me that Cobb character who was riding it on the.
No. Let me make my own character.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Like, listen, Criterion games. You remember Criterion made Burnout. They made the Burnout franchise, right? Let Criterion, because EA owns Criterion now, right? Let Criterion make a pod race game. It's just the perfect fit. Like, you can't tell me that's not a perfect fit. And then I'm totally give me my character customization. I can make an alien, whatever have you. Like, and you're an upcoming pod racer. You want to become like a legend on the circuits, right?
Now,
customize your own pod and like, you know, customize your engines and like do engine upgrades, all type of stuff. But like the collision mechanics and all that stuff, like, oh man, come on, Criterion will kill that game.
Yeah, because you can see that it'll just crumble away and do all. Yeah, dude, I can see that. Well, pod racing. What's the lore behind the pod racing? Was that only only Tatooine, or was that a galactic thing? Is there like a grand?
Is it okay? So if you played Racer Revenge on PlayStation 2, because you know Star Wars Pod Racer came out on Nintendo 64, but then they had a sequel called Racer Revenge that came out on PlayStation 2, and it was like you go to different worlds and race. Like you were on the intergalactic pod racing circuit. Like, give me that game, but allow me to customize my character and my pod racer.
Yeah,
like I should be able to mismatch the engines, like have one weird oblong engine on one side, and then make
it seedy, make it a seedy type of a game too, where the huts are like, hey man, throw this race, you know what I mean? Like, and then the next, and then if you don't throw the race, the next race, your engine just randomly just blows up. Like it is different, and it's different for everybody. Like the new Black Ops game. Like, when there's clues that you discovered throughout the world, you can't just get online and look up the clues, because it's different literally for every single player. Like every player gets different clues, so it's different for everybody. So like I was going on and I was like, hold on, wait, his clues are different than my clues, my characters, and so make it to where, like, you know, if IGN is reviewing that mission. They're like, oh, in the first race, my pod racer blew up this engine. But then for you could be like, well, I was like right in the front. I was right beside, like about to finish the race, and it blew up. You know, just make it different for everybody. And
make it so, you know, you've got, you know, what is it? Conversation options where like basically the whatever response you choose changes the outcome of the game. So like everyone's experience is going to be different.
Fishy Fish. He has a good point right here down his comment. The Mad Max style, dude. I don't know if you play Mad Max.
But give me Mad Max, Fast Furious, like any off the wall racing game, franchise, movie, property. Yes, give me that. Put it in, dude. Talladega Nights, like all. give me everything. Like, this needs to be. This is the one Star Wars game that has no like don't take it serious. Like this needs to be just absolute
Wonky
fun.
and
Like
ridiculous. Yeah.
yes, the
I
craziest
can
scenarios that you can think of with pod racing, throw it in there. I don't care.
I can see
Like
it
give me
being like
let
a
me
Mad
race
Max.
on Mustafar, like and I
Yeah.
jump like off of Vader's
Lava.
castle. Like
You're on
you
his
know what I'm saying?
castle.
Like yeah,
Yeah.
he's it runs right past Vader's
Every
castle. You can
every
like go
time.
off course and like jump over it.
Yeah. It'd be funny because like anytime you like did like again randomly have him be like, oh, Vader's standing outside, he throws something at you or something. Like he doesn't make it crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah, he throws his lightsaber at you, try
He
to
force choke somebody.
yeah, because he's
He'll
like, or maybe it brings back a memory for him. That's what I mean. Like, hey, Vader, you know what I mean? He's like, nah, you know?
also, yeah, no, there has to be a reference. Hey, yo, what happened to that kid that beat Saboba? Remember? Like,
Yeah.
oh man, I heard that, like, hey, I heard that
He's a
kid
legend.
became no, yeah. Like he's probably a legend on Tatooine. Like probably no one else in the galaxy knows who that kid is. They're like, oh, what happened to that kid? So, oh, I heard he became a Jedi. They're like, yeah, right, get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that'd be tight.
come on.
That'd be cool.
You know
I like the
I
idea. I like the idea of it being this Mad Max style where, you know, you can get in and out of your pod or you can go around the different planets and stuff like that. And like, it can be that 1313 that we kind of like, you know, he's like, you know, he has a pistol. He knows how to handle himself. He's just not a pushover. I don't want this character to be a complete pushover. Like, you know, the Hutts come up to him and he's like, I want him to have that Han Solo vibe where he's like, he can handle himself in a situation a little bit. And like, give me those little missions in between that. It doesn't need to be all racing and everything like that. Give me a little bit of, you know, both. I mean, be heavy. Yeah, be heavy on the racing, but also give me that behind the scenes drama that makes it interesting to continue to progress the story. I just don't want that same style of like, okay, here's this race. All right, get first place. You know what I mean? Give me that, like, you know, I got to go to see the Hutts. All right, what do you want, Jabba? And he's like, I need you to throw the race. Nah, not doing it. And like, you know, you walk out, and then he sends his boys, give me a little shootout. You know, give me something. You know.
Yeah, give me the. I need the Tusken Raiders too up on the hills when we race on Tatooine, like shooting at everybody. Like I need that to happen because
or you know what I mean. Do a quest for
trespassing on their territory.
Yeah, or yeah, man, or do it. Do a quest and like you do something where you help out a Tusken and he doesn't bother you for the race or something like that. You do something you do like, you know what I mean? Give me those options, like where like your the things you do off the track affect you on the track. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that would be tight.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm here for that.
Yeah.
I guess like if they announce either way, they announce a pod racing game, like I'm here for it. And I'm like, if they made squadrons, like you can make a pod racing game, dude. Like you can make a $40 pod racer game, same type of thing where it's got a storyline and multiplayer. Like, give me that.
Make it just how Squadrons is. Make that shit first person. You know what I mean? And you're just like, it would be, dude. You would feel so much because then you will see you can just keep going back and forth, like just like how Anakin was doing it. You know, you're pushing the buttons and it's like you're like turning power and everything into like, you know, couplings and everything. Dude, come on, all first person
that
view.
Would be cool.
You know what I mean?
That would, if you had to like control, that would be kind of cool because then you go more of the simulator route.
Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah, I would dig with. I could dig that. I could dig that.
That'd be kind of tight.
All right.
I like that.
Okay, so my big idea. We'll get into
what is it
now. We talked about, you know, we want to continue down the path of single player games. I think we got to make games for everybody. Like this is really why it's a good thing that EA has lost this exclusivity because you get way more content. Like you don't have to rely on EA's availability to give us more games. Like now, you know, EA can focus on Battlefront, Squadrons, Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Let them continue doing that. I think they'll turn Battlefront around. I think they made some better decisions with the sequel. Squadrons was good. Squadrons just needs a sequel and a fully developed game. Like give them a bigger budget and let them do exactly what they did with the first one. And Fallen Order, same thing.
Knights of the Old Republic. I think we need not Knights of the Old Republic. Sorry, Jedi Knight series, the Outcast series. Dude, I would love to see Kyle back again. Reboot Kyle into this canon. I would love to see it.
That would be interesting. We'd have to see how they would do that. Like, I would like a nice Jedi Outcast though,
Or
type
Jedi
of story.
Academy. Yeah, Jedi Academy.
But
New
see, you
Luke's new
could kind
recruits.
of, but you could kind of incorporate a Jedi Outcast type of story in the Fallen Order franchise. You know what I'm saying? Like
That's true. Yeah.
you don't have to follow Cal Kestis entirely in that franchise if they wanted to. Like it could all just be about like the survivors of Order 66 and like everyone has a different type of path. Like
Yeah.
that could be an interesting thing to do, and you could definitely have Cal Katarn type character pop up.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Um, my big thing is we need a lore heavy MMORPG type of game set in the High Republic. And here's how I'm going to pitch this. Here's
go
how
ahead.
I'm
Go
going
ahead.
to
Let's
pitch
hear it.
this. Have you played Destiny?
Yeah,
1 and 2?
play Destiny. Yep, both of them.
So can't you like just imagine? Now you've read Light of the Jedi. Give me the same format, but in the High Republic, where the tower is now Starlight Beacon. The multiplayer, the combat, all of that is basically like almost exactly like Destiny, right?
Yeah.
Let Bungie like give that to Bungie. Like let Bungie make a Star Wars game, or if Bungie can't do it, CD Projekt Red because they've done The Witcher. Like I'm impressed that Bungie has been able to convert that game into an MMO because it is now like that.
Yeah.
It's the games like Destiny and The Division, in my opinion, are the future of MMORPGs because
console versions, correct?
Yeah, console, PC, but because it's geared more towards the console player, but it has the lore and the story and the multiplayer aspects that we get from a traditional MMO PC game. Make it cross-platform, different, like give it so that gives us that level of interactivity. You've got certain areas where players can meet, like Starlight Beacon. So, like, let's say you make you choose I don't know. I wouldn't have the Nile as a playable class, like, or any of the villains that we get in the High Republic. But like, give me I can choose the Republic. I can choose to be a Jedi, or I can choose to be a soldier in the RDC, the Republic Defense Coalition, and you get progression. And like, let's say you choose the Jedi path, right?
Yeah.
Starts out with you on your trial, like the tutorial is you on your final trial as a Padawan with your master.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And something happens, some surrounding the great disaster. You gotta, and you leap in action, you save these people, and during the course of that, like, you're learning the controls and all of that. And that event, you end up saving their lives, and your master is like, well, this was basically the Force, this was your trial. You go to Starlight Beacon, and then you get knighted as a Jedi, and then that starts your path. And the big thing with the High Republic stuff, without getting into any like High Republic spoilers for those, because I know there's a lot of people who haven't finished reading it yet, but the Jedi of this time period have a lot of freedom and flexibility to choose whatever path they want. And like, it's set up so well for MMO. Like, allow me to choose what type of Jedi I want to be. Like, give me that type of like Elder Scrolls, The Witcher vibe, where like progression, story, quests, all that stuff is up to me to decide how I want to go through this world and experience it. And then give me like world events, like fragments of the legacy run falling out, raids by the Nile that just happen randomly throughout the world, that like the players are in the area, they just come and like, you got a bunch of Jedi and RDC people responding to
you see that,
like,
you see the lightning coming. Oh, guys, there's lightning coming. There's lightning striking. You see the clouds coming. You're like, storms.
Oh yeah, you get your own vector to fly. Like man,
customize it.
You customize it. It's got a garage, or like a hangar, just like in Destiny. You go to the hangar, you customize, you buy parts for it, upgrade it, customize it, change it how you want. There's a temple on Starlight Beacon that you can go to train, to
Level up.
get more cosmetic upgrades to your robes and your gear and apparel. Change your lightsaber crystal, or maybe go to Ilum. Like put Ilum in the game,
Oh
and you go
wow,
to Ilum,
yeah.
the crystals,
Choose your
and
crystal, yeah.
like give me an open world sandbox Star Wars game set during the High Republic.
So my thing is the one after. So I'm like I'm on chapter 30 something on 31 on Light of Jedi, and I came up with this whole character. Like after hearing you talk about that, I was just thinking to myself, I was just like, I love the Sith. I love being a dark side person on all the games if I get a choice for it. But I thought to myself, I was like, during this time, what would a Sith be doing? You know what I mean? And I was just like, I asked myself, if there was an RPG, what would I be doing? And then I thought to myself, like the Nile, they can do whatever they want. They can do this. And I was like, you know what? I wouldn't want to be a Tempest, the Tempest like leader dude, but I would want to be like a Jedi that's like, he's respected by all the Tempest runners. You know what I mean? But he's like, he can choose which Tempest he wants to run with anytime. And that's how I was like, if I was a Sith Lord, I would want to join them and like just gather all this money and just do like have that freedom of just being like how Darth Maul kind of is. He's just this crime boss. He's just he wants money, and and that's how I was thinking, like how I would want my character if I was a Sith Lord during that time. Like that would just be with the Nile, but I would be able to choose whatever Tempest runner I could run with to like do whatever, and I had that freedom and just a badass, and nobody mess with you.
So they're in the upcoming Claudia Gray novel, Into the Dark. She's going to introduce a mercenary that, I don't know. It's kind of mysterious, but she calls her a lightsaber for hire. She doesn't call her a Jedi, but she's basically like she's a mercenary, and she's got.
That's what I want to be.
I don't know if she was a former Jedi, or I don't know what her story is, but she didn't call her a Jedi. She called her a lightsaber for hire. So that's the thing. That's the mechanic that they could use, because the whole thing with the Sith during this time period is like we're not supposed to see them. Like they don't even know that they believe the Sith are dead or gone.
No, completely wiped out. Gotcha.
Yeah, the Rule of Two has been enacted. The Sith Wars ended with the Rule of Two, and the Jedi and the Republic had no idea that the Rule of Two. They didn't know they were any survivors at the end of the Sith War of
Gotcha.
Sith. So at some point, I think that they find out that the Rule of Two is a thing for the Sith, because Yoda knows about it during the prequels. I don't know if I don't know when he found out about it, but at least during the initial time period of the High Republic that we're starting in, the Jedi and the Republic both believe the Sith are gone and they're extinct from the world. So we shouldn't see them at all. Acolyte, though, the TV show that's coming out, I think that's 100 years. So it's 100 years after the High Republic. I mean, no, yeah. So it's 100 years prior to a Phantom Menace. That's when Acolyte takes place, and that's following the Rule of Two. So it's an Acolyte and their master trying to stay out of the view of Jedi and the Republic. Keep maintaining their animosity in the galaxy, and this is where the plot to take over the Republic basically begins, is what I'm speculating. So it would be a hard sell for them to have like Jedi and Sith in this game, because they aren't supposed to be more than two. So, but to your point, like a more of a rogue mercenary lightsaber fire that's got some sort of lightsaber training would be a kind of a cool thing to introduce. That could be like these neutral parties.
I'm all about that.
The Outer Rim at this point in time is almost entirely unexplored by the Republic, so they don't even know what's out there. So there's a number of factions and forces that you could implement out there, that you could discover throughout as you play the game. Like a cool mechanic of it too would be like this game should be very I'm thinking that this game should have at least 200 hours of gameplay. Like at least. Like at least. Like that's how much depth they need to add to this game. And like the freedom to choose how you progress through the game should be entirely left up to the player. Like just like Elder Scrolls and what you call it, The Witcher. Like you get your indicator on the map where you start the quest, but you don't have to go there. Like you could just go hop in your vector and just do whatever you want to and
planet to planet.
You want.
Oh, like, have you played No Man's Sky before?
Yes, I have.
So wouldn't it be cool if it was that type of like, you know, it wouldn't be that Destiny style where you click on you're just hovering and you click, but it would be that one thing where you could take off and you could go through the atmosphere and like, and then you're in space and travel like that. Would you like to see that style? Yeah. You could hit hyperspace and everything like that. No Man's Sky space flight mechanic, planet landing. That'd be.
I think the next gen consoles could handle that type of. It's like I'm just trying to think about the restrictions with it being multiplayer and like an MMO style, and like can it handle that? And
I think it would. Yeah, I would think it would have to be
that, but like I think so.
It wouldn't. You wouldn't. The only time it would be truly multiplayer would be when you go to like the Starlight Beacon and you see like that's the place where you see like 20, 40 people with you. But then once you leave and go away from that area, then it's like, you know, whatever squad of people that you want to run with until you go to like a raid section where then it can go up to 10 or 15 people or whatever. But yeah, I mean,
I think that's where like how Destiny and Division have their multiplayer server set up. I think it's gonna have to follow that. Like it can't be like a classic MMO like what you see on PC. Like it has to be heavily instance based, and like it has to populate certain areas with X amount of people. But like I think having people phase in and out of certain areas, because like you'll be playing Destiny, like you'll be like on Mars exploring, and then like all of a sudden like 4 or 5 people will drop in while there's an event going on, and then all of a sudden you'll see more people. So, like it'll be in the moment, it'd be like 1 or 2 people there in that area, and the next thing you know, there's like 15 to 20, and like that's type of like stuff you want to see in that, and like you know, balancing the combat and like I don't know. I think it would be
I feel like it'd be kind of jarring to see like 15 lightsabers and everybody's just like
yeah, and then like, you know, just coming out of nowhere, coming out the woodworks, and like you got your RDC troops on the ground, like tanking, like, you know. I think you should have like more, you know, you got your close quarters knights, and then like your troopers, and then you got more ranged units, which are Jedi that focus more on like force abilities and can hit targets from a distance, and then you got like a range class for RDC where you get snipers and more long range weapons that can, you know, you're basically out of the front line and you're taking targets.
Mercenary class or whatever you want to call them, like I feel that.
A triage, like a triage class on the RDC side that can heal, and like, you know, of course they've got sages that can use the force to make wounds and things like that. So like the combat, like, and the balance, like, and I think that's why like giving that this is such like the era is supposed to focus on the heroes, like following Destiny and the Division type of format storytelling from a single and multiplayer perspective, like would work for this era, but just give us the freedom to explore the world in this universe in this time period as we want. And then, you know, Starlight Beacon is the hub, is the central location where everyone comes to meet. That's the central area. Like you can start raids from there. Like, you know, that's the common area. Like that's where all the players come meet and hang out and stuff. Like, and you can have guild quarters like in the Beacon. Like, you know, you form a guild, buy like some space, and like you know, an area where, you know, you enter and you can customize. Your guild can customize the area as you want. Like you unlock and, you know, get certain from raids and like different trophies, things like that. That would be so cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, if I, like I said, I don't want to go into full like spoilers for but it's kind of like how, you know, Belle and all them are living in those quarters together. You know what I
That'd be cool.
mean? At their
That they got
outpost.
outposts.
Yeah,
Yeah, different type of outposts. That would be cool too to have in
yeah.
there. Yeah, that would be cool.
Mhm. So
That
then you
would be
have wherever, and so when you land in, it's like you can walk outside and you see all, like, you know, whoever's part of the guild, all their, you know, their ships are all lined up. They could be different colors, different this, and I totally could see a game like that. I mean, will we
yeah.
ever get it?
I think they
But
talked
I
about.
mean,
I think they can. I think like
yeah.
with Lucasfilm's games now being a
Mm,
thing, like because they can, you know, hire out and
mm,
outsource these projects to whatever studio they want to now. So like,
mm.
it's not even regardless of how we feel about how EA has handled because I mean really they're 50-50 right now. Like
Yeah, really, yeah.
Battlefront, like lukewarm. Battlefront 1 was that was bad. 2
Hmm.
was better. It was an improvement, but it's not. It was okay.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, but Fallen Order, phenomenal, and
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
Squadrons was great. It in like so like yeah, 50-50. And then
Yeah.
the Lego games never miss. Like it doesn't matter
Yeah.
what genre or franchise it is, like
Mhm.
those games never miss. Um
I'm excited for. I'm just, you know what? I'm just excited for E3 this year because once I saw the Indiana Jones, once I saw, if I don't know about this whole E3 because everybody's been talking about E3 being like, you know, it might go away, it may not be this huge. I mean, it's been doing that for the last couple of years where now it's just publishers will do their own like online type of event, or, you know, online, yeah, experience. Like, you know, PlayStation kind of has been pulling that way where they just do their PlayStation experience at like every December or whatever, and so, or whenever they decide to do it. And Nintendo does that whole, they, you know,
yeah,
the
Nintendo
Nintendo
has a
now, yeah, now thing. So I'm just, you know, hopefully there is some sort of E3 and we get to see where the publishers, the not, you know, not the big publishers, or, you know, the people who don't have that kind of marketing backing, they can go there and they can tell us a little bit more about the game. I'm just excited to see what this new Star Wars game is about, and if they're going to bring back any of the Star Wars games from the dead. You know what I mean? Or if they're just going to completely scrap those 13. Because I mean, like, we saw gameplay. You know, that stuff
yeah,
lives
I,
on
I
somewhere. You know what I mean?
yeah, there's no way that I can't. It would be hard for me to imagine that the massive Ubisoft game is not that 1313 game, or at least a
Yeah.
version of it. Like
Hmm.
I think they'll adapt it because if they put that game out now as it was back in 2012, like I
Hmm.
don't think it'll be people will buy it, but I don't think it's misses potential. Like it should have come out in 2012, it'd been like fine. But I think
Hmm.
now in hindsight, because like at the time I made the comparison to Gears of War, like the way the
Hmm.
combat was, like the cover based system,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
I think the Division's cover based system is better than Gears of War system. Like
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I like combat. I like the combat in the Division a lot more than um Gears of War at this point in time. But back in the day,
Hmm.
like Gears of War was it. Like that was, if you
Yeah,
want
that
like
was
cover
it.
based gameplay, like the Gears was like the pinnacle. Um,
And there's a few
but
games like that
now
that had that Army of Two. You know, they were all copying that
but
whole,
yeah,
like,
they were all copying Gears though, because
yeah.
Gears came out with it first, and everybody else copied it. So I'm just like, I want to see that, but take it to the next level. I don't want to see. I'm less interested in a single player experience for 1313 now, in 2021 than I was in 2012. You know what I'm saying? So like, give me 1313, but make it multiplayer.
Mm.
Um, like just give it same treatment as the Division, but it takes place entirely in the underworld of Coruscant, on level 1313. Like, you know,
Mm.
increase the number of criminal factions in there. Like, let me be a mercenary that works for these different factions in the underworld. All of that
Wouldn't
stuff.
it be? Wouldn't it, like you were saying, you have a reputation bar, right?
Yeah,
Depending on when it's set, like say it was set in the High Republic days, you know what I mean? Wouldn't it be crazy if the more you grew, the more that, like, oh, hey guys, if you get to a certain level, like in reputation, they send a Jedi after you. So you don't even know when it comes. It's just like you're just walking around, and then next thing you know, you just got a man just come out of nowhere. And I think that'd be kind of a cool system where it's that what do they call it? I know they kind of introduced it in that those what is it? The Lord of the Rings type games where it's the Nemesis modes or whatever, where like if you gain that Nemesis bar, you know what I mean, something like that. So it's like, you know, you as you rising through the ranks, they're like, okay, you know, the council or somebody, the Republic, the senator or whatever, he's just like, hey, this guy's getting out of hand. We need you to take care of something. You know, go down there and do something. You know what I mean? And
I could see it. I could see a scenario where, I mean, I would like it. I personally wanted it to be in post Order 66, like right after the fall of the Republic, like in the prime of the Empire, like the height of the Empire, like, and when
that's where more smuggling.
But they hire, like, the Empire will hire out mercenaries to take out certain targets. So like the Empire could be a potential client for you. And like there could be Jedi in the underlevel that have been missing, and like those could be like, you know, like world bosses.
Younglings, like younglings that have just like went down and they live as street kids, but they're like, you know,
but there were some knights and some masters that survived, like Order 66, that you know, they survived the initial attack from the clones and, you know, went into hiding. Like there's a lot of Jedi out during that time period that like the Empire, you like, once you get to a certain level of infamy, they'll give you these missions to hunt down like a Jedi, and it's like that would be cool, but like, and it would be like it's a hard fight because they got the Force and you don't. It's like
they bring everything. You have to bring everything to the table. Like it's like you don't go into this battle half cocked. You have to go in fully, like, you know,
gear, catch everything that you need. Like you're gonna need, like, what's it, like purple and gold gear is always like in these type of games like the best. Like you don't go in there with anything less than, like, you know what I'm saying, like, and then you can team up with other players to go and take on, like, you know, in Red Dead Redemption, when you do like a legendary bounty hunter quest, like you can bring members of your posse along with you, and then they each get credit. Like they could set it up the same, like in a similar type of style as that, like where I've got this legendary quest because I've got this rank, this level with this faction, so y'all can join up on me and we can go check out this legendary bounty. We can split the profits.
That'd be exciting.
Stuff like that. Like that game would be sick. Like that game would be sick.
LucasArts, man, we got some story developers right here, guys. Come on, where are the connects at?
Can write those stories.
All right, hey, Lucas, man, we just pitched you guys 5 games right now.
That was just a pitch. You don't even have, we didn't talk about the storyline narrative.
I know, dude, you know, it's funny, literally before Mandalorian came out, I literally had the exact same story in terms of, this is like, you know, how George Lucas introduced the whole that the Force was in your blood, the count, the count. And so my thought was that it was going to be like, I had an idea for a show where it was like very dark, very 1313 type of thing, where they took Jedi and they sold their blood, but it was more of a drug instead of, like, you know, trying to clone them. It was more of a, do you want temporary Force powers? Take this, you know what I mean? And it gives you Force powers for like 15 minutes and then it goes away. And literally, like, the mystery was that, and they were wondering how people were getting, like, doing the Force powers, then doing all these, like, you know, doing these heists, and they were thinking that Jedi were doing heists, but it's like really just people who, like, a guy who was able to synthesize the blood of a Jedi and make it a drug. And and then when I saw The Mandalorian, I was like, it's not exactly what my idea was, but it was like, they were taking his blood to make, you know, whatever clones or whatever they were trying to do in that storyline. Yeah.
And it's because that's something that they did in Dark Forces, the video game back in like the 90s. Like that's how they make the Dark Troopers. Like they took force sensitive blood and injected into these, and it made these super soldiers that they call Dark Troopers. Like that was the original concept of the Dark Trooper. Like they were like these armored. They tried to basically make an army of force sensitive Jedi, like with like killing machines. That was the Emperor's grand plan. Like, he was going to replace the clones, or not the clones, but the stormtroopers with these force sensitive, overpowered mercenaries. And then Kyle Katarn, because that was the introduction to Kyle Katarn, and he's the one that stopped it. Yeah, so like, that was a fire storyline.
Yeah, I would have just, you know, I would have stole the bodies. Then I would have either captured Jedi alive, or I would have killed them, took the body, drained the body, dumped the body. Emperor was messing up. He was just shooting them and leaving them there. I would have been like collecting. I'd have been like, all right, drain that body of that blood. Give me all of it. Give me every single blood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's something that they've been trying to do. Like it's just hard to, because the Force fights back. That's the catch. Like that's what Plagueis was doing when he was influencing the midichlorians to create life. Like in response, the Force created Anakin. Like that was the counter to Plagueis. Like that's and oftentimes anytime anyone is experimented with the Force and midichlorians and things like that, like the Force always fights back. Same thing with the Rakata. Like that's why the Rakata Empire fell back in the day. Like they were doing all of these Force experiments, and then like the Force just cut them off completely from the Force. Like the Force created a plague that just ravaged the entire empire, because their entire empire and all their technology was dependent on their use of the dark side of the Force. Like that's how they power all their machines and all their weapons. And so in response, the Force created a disease that only the Rakata could catch, and like it cut them off from the Force completely, and they couldn't use any of the technology. And then like all of the worlds that they had enslaved rebelled, and like that was basically the end of them.
That's insane.
Yeah, I mean the Force it's alive. It's not like it's almost a conscious being. It is a conscious being. Like that's why like the Jedi always like the will of the Force is everything. Like we serve the will of the Force over anything, over our own agenda, because no matter what, it's going to have its way. So like that's always been the hang up with anyone that's been experimenting with the midichlorians and the Force in that manner. And that's why George hated the Yuzong Vong, because they were resistant to the Force. Like they couldn't. And he's like, nah, that's not in my story. Like everybody, everything and everybody in the universe is connected to the Force. Like so, this ain't gonna fly. But yeah, we're an hour and 23 in. Got any closing remarks regarding video games?
Nah, man. I mean, like I said, it's just an excited time to be alive, and you know, and I mean, we're seeing some light at the end of this tunnel. I mean, like, dude, like, I mean, they came in hitting hard this week. I mean, like, we got Indiana Jones, we getting new Star Wars. I was just like,
what are your thoughts on the Indiana Jones game?
You know what? If the new Indiana Jones is anything like, you know, Tomb Raider, like the new Tomb Raiders in the Uncharted series, I think we're in for a heck of a ride, because literally, who doesn't want to play an Indiana Jones game that's kind of like Uncharted? Uncharted is literally you're playing a movie. You know what I mean? You're literally playing a cinematic movie. If they just take that formula and make it Indiana Jones, and you're playing an Indiana Jones movie, and it's very cinematic, and you're doing the whip, and you land on a guy and you're punching him like Nathan Drake, and dude, I'm all game. I mean, like,
personally, I think I'm more excited for a Indiana Jones game that's in the same vein of Uncharted in storytelling and like cinematic storytelling than I am for an Indiana Jones sequel movie. Like,
Oh yeah, me too.
I'd
100%.
rather play young Indiana Jones in his prime than watch old Harrison. And I love Harrison Ford to death, but like I just not hyped for that movie. It's
Yeah,
like, yeah, I would much
yeah,
rather play Indy in his prime on and
yeah.
watch that story unfold in via a video game than like it, you know, seeing old man Ford in his
I
trying to
told them they
really.
need to bring if they're gonna do another Indiana Jones. I mean, they are doing another Indiana Jones movies. Bring back Short Round for this one. I love Short Round, and I think they need to bring back an older version of Short Round. Because I mean, like, think about it. He was kind of like Indiana Jones wasn't just hanging out with that kid for nothing. That's like his protege. You know what I mean? Like, bring me back. Let's see what happened to that kid. Let's do this. You know, like
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
um,
I think that they just need to hang that franchise up. Like the first three movies are great,
yeah.
and it's just like I think they had their moment back in the day. And if it's like if you're not going to recast the part and just continue, like I don't, I think it's just time to hang at least the movies up. Like,
yeah, the games you could give me CG Harrison Ford and have people
yeah,
play it. I mean, like you can still have the look of Harrison Ford, but give me that movie because
exactly.
the Uncharted, like I'm still skeptical about the Uncharted movie coming out because I'm like the games are so great and they're so cinematic. I would just tell people to go play the game. You're probably going to get a better experience playing the game than you are going to watch this movie. You're going to, you know, because I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see Tom Holland or Mark Wahlberg as Nathan and Sully. I just don't see it. I think it was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was terrible casting for at least Sullivan.
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg as him. I'm like, I don't see it. You know.
I think that the trick a lot of times with single player video game movie adaptations is that they're video games, so everyone's experience with the video game is different.
Yeah.
Like, because how you play it and how you experience that storyline is entirely based on you. So you've already built up this idea of how things unfold. But and so like I think there's certain, I mean, The Witcher did a really good job staying true to the feel and the lore and of that universe.
Yeah.
And I think they got to do the same. It's just a hard sell, but I think it's like it's kind of like book adaptations. Like when you read a book and you read a novel and it's adapted into a movie, you have certain expectations based on how you read the book and like how you interpreted certain things that happen. The same thing with video games, but a lot of times because the video games are so immersive and you have a truly visual experience with a video game. When it's adapted into a movie, if it falls short of that in any area, like people are going to be like, nope, that's not it. Nope.
Yeah.
Rejection.
And you know what? With the current state of games right now, there's such a high bar, especially with these type of franchises that are coming out. I mean, like Fallen Order.
It's cinematic. It's a movie.
Yeah. Fallen Order and Squadrons have set the bar for how Star Wars games or any of those properties from LucasArts should go from now on. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not going to be no more that, like, you know, just that crap that we saw back in the old days where you're just like, ugh, where did that come from? It's like every game is going to either be, it might have a few lows, but I think we're gonna always get that clean cinematic story that we've been waiting for. You know what I mean? And then you might get a nice MMO, like you said, we've been waiting for that. Like, you know, we might get that Division that, you know, it might lack on the story, but the gameplay is going to be there. The replay, like the playthrough value is going to be there. Like, you know, the loot shooter base is going to be there where we're going to have fun just being in that world and stuff like that. And that's kind of what Destiny was.
The focus is going to be on the lore of that universe and of the multiplayer experience. And the single player story mode is going to be there just to reinforce this and the story and the lore of it, so that you're more immersed into this universe, and you get more familiar with characters and things that you're going to interact with in the multiplayer portion. Like that's kind of how I experienced like the Division, and how I experienced like Destiny. Like I played Destiny more solo than I did the Division. Like the Division, I always played with other people. Like
me too. It felt so empty to play by yourself. I mean, like
that game you had to play with other people.
Yeah,
it's not
they were
like
too tough.
It's not that you couldn't be solo. You could totally solo the game, but
it'll take you twice as long.
You miss so much of the true experience if you didn't play with other people. And
exactly,
I think that they can make, I love to see Star Wars games that are in the vein of that. And I think from a multiplayer MMO standpoint, that is the future of MMORPG style games, because they fit on the console. This is just a better transition from console and PC, and they can both interact with each other, be cross-platform, and allow for this large, audience to experience it on whatever platform they want to, and still be able to play with all their friends. Like that's the big game changer for it. And like if you make a multiplayer game, it has to be cross-platform. Like I don't want to play a multiplayer Star Wars game that is not cross-platform. Like I need PC players. So if you're if you're a PC gamer, or if you are a Xbox gamer or a PlayStation gamer, like doesn't matter. Pick whatever console you feel most comfortable on and hop on and like play with your friends. Like
let's do this thing.
Like that's how I want to. And then with the single player stuff, like give me a singular focused story, like Fallen Order, that I get fully invested into the character in that story that you're telling for the story. Give me something exactly like Fallen Order, but with a Division of Clone Troopers set in the prequels. Like give me a
canon too.
Yeah, I mean,
I want to watch the Mandalorian. Yeah, I want to watch the Mandalorian or the new all the new series, and think, oh, Kyle Kestis should pop up at any time.
Yeah. Like give me that. Like that's the beauty in what Disney and Lucasfilm have decided to do. Like that's why I was fully on board with them doing a canon reset, because they wanted to make sure everything was connected, and any character from any genre could pull and be incorporated into any other platform. And that's what they're starting to do with the Mandalorian. Like we're starting to see all of that come to fruition. Like, and we'll see that with video games. Like the idea that a video game character can now appear in a season of the Mandalorian, and then and then like they survive, and then like the sequel to the game picks up right where he leaves off on from that. Like that level of continuity is insane. Like no other universe, no other franchise can do that. Like what I'm saying? Like now we can start doing that with Star. And I still feel like that was one of the best decisions that Disney's made with Star Wars. And now like all the stories are now starting to come together, and everything's starting to weave and intertangle beautifully.
And what a relief it was. Spoiler alert for anybody who has not played Fallen Order. Hopefully you played it by now. It's been out for almost like a year and a half now.
Account console or a PC, and you haven't picked up, and you're a Star Wars fan, and you haven't picked up Fallen Order, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Like you need to get on that. Like
what a relief it was at the end for me when everybody survived. I was like, dang. Like I was, because I was expecting because my mindset going dead into Vader's castle and doing all this stuff. I was like, I'm dead. There's no way he's going to survive this. You know what I mean? Like I went into that mission thinking I'm going to confront Vader. I'm going to be dead. Like, and that was my mindset. I just knew that I was going to either defeat that first sister chick and then face Vader and then die. Like that was it. But then when we escaped and we flew away, and I was like, and the end of the game came, and I was like, The
key is, so when we go, because it's the Inquisitorium that it's the last mission. It's the Inquisitor's headquarters that we go to.
Oh yeah.
One, I was like, oh, it's a suicide mission because I'm like, we're going to their headquarters. Like, yeah, it's a suicide. And then like you get there, you play through it, and you fight the second sister, and then at the end when you get the breathing, and I was like, oh Lord, Vader's here, and I was like, I was over because it's like if I have to fight Vader, like I'm not surviving this. That's what I thought. And then like then
I
it starts. It starts the escape sequence.
One person.
Yeah, but see, no, once they started the escape sequence, I was like, oh, we're gonna survive because it's like because he went into OP Force Lord mode and like it was like, all right, yeah, I'm not on this level at all. Like
he's like crushing, he's like bending things, he's throwing things at you. I'm like, I do it. Yeah. And you know what? It wasn't one of those things where I'm just dodging. I literally felt scared for my life. I had goosebumps. I was like, he's right behind me. I could feel him. You know how you like if you're running from somebody, you just want to keep looking back to make sure he's there. You just like I didn't want to turn around. I just kept going. I was just like jump, just go, get through.
I thought the fight with the second sister was intense. I played it on Grandmaster, like on my first playthrough, and like, bruh, that fight was tough. Last fight, yeah. But that last fight was like that was huh?
Who's the dude you fighting on Wookiee Planet? The big guy. I had to fight him like 5 times. I
think it's the 9th sister.
Yeah, he was that was a chick, the big guy.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, she was like, man, I died like so many times on that mission.
Yeah, she was like, so the first playthrough I didn't have a double-bladed lightsaber when I fought her.
Oh, I had the
I still had my single because I had pre-ordered the game, so like I didn't go watch anything. Like I played through the first time Grandmaster. Like I think what level was I when I finally got the double bladed? And I realized like I could have had that double bladed lightsaber, but on my second playthrough when I fought her second time around, like I had double blade and that changed the whole dynamic. That fight was a lot easier for me.
Yeah, it was. And you know what? I was so mad because I play all the
back on the second sister thing because like once I like I don't know how many times I died on that first playthrough fighting the second sister because but I had the double bladed lightsaber at that point. I had all of my heals and like I had maxed out my skill tree. So like I was maxed out like full on fighting her, and it took me a minute to beat her. And then as soon as the fight was over and that breathing happened, and I'm like, yo, I gotta fight Vader, I'm like, it's over. And then that escape sequence starts, and I'm like, okay, he's gonna survive this. I'm like, we're gonna have a sequel. Because I was thinking, like, as soon as like we started getting closer to the end of the campaign, I'm like, man, I don't want this to end. Because I was like, this is such a good story. Like, I can see this has franchise potential. And I'm like, I'm thinking, I'm like, the whole time, like, yo, this is gonna suck to end this game because, like, this is such a good story. Like, I was invested in character. I cared about Cal and his story, like, and everyone on the ship. And I'm like, I need more stories like this, in video game format.
And the way they ended it too, I was just like, oh, thank God. And I thought, like, is there going to be DLC? I assumed I was immediately like, they're going to do story DLC for this now. Yes. Yeah. And I was like, but there hasn't been any announcement. So, but I think there's been an official second.
Oh, not yet.
Okay.
Yes, they have. But so they said that this is the first announcement was that this is a franchise, meaning that not only we're going to get a sequel, we're going to get multiple games with this time period. But last I checked, they didn't have a release date on the sequel.
Got to be next gen.
Like next gen. It better not touch current gen consoles. Like it better not be compatible.
Power. Yep.
Yeah, full power of next gen consoles for that game because it's what it deserves. Like don't downplay that for this current gen platform. Like now, if this game comes out in 2023, 2024, good. Don't make it for current gen.
The Fallen Order next gen patch for I got it for the Xbox Series X, and
they said they patched it for 4K.
Yeah, it looks. I tried it both. I played it performance mode where it's in 60 frames, plays amazing. And I do and then I did the 4K version, and it looks like both versions are like the performance mode, it doesn't look that great. as you could tell, they smooth out the textures and everything like that. But I mean, like you're moving, like it makes you feel like you're just any tap of the lightsaber, any move you make could be. If you're playing on Grandmaster, if you miss somebody, that's you that's your butt right there. So
yeah. That was another cool part of that game, the aspect of it that it took me a little while to realize about the mechanics, but it is a defensive game. Like you have to play defensively just like a Jedi would. Like I had to think about it for a second because I was like, if you stay constantly on the attack, you're going to die. Like especially on Grandmaster. Like there's no way you're gonna survive.
It's not a Jedi Outcast game where you could just run and get health packs and do all this and just be lightsaber throwing and everything. Dude.
Yeah, it was wild for me because I was playing, I was like, yo, I'm dying a lot on this. But I never wanted to change the difficulty level. I was just like, I was enjoying it. And then I realized I was like, Yoda's voice popped in my head and it was like, a Jedi uses his powers only for defense, never for attack. And then I started realizing, like, yo, I can one hit anybody if I parry. And then like once I learned, like, oh, all I got to do is parry, I was like, oh, this game, I started flying through that game. I was like, oh wow, that's cool. Like that they made that an actual mechanic. Like you play defensively and you will
I wouldn't run towards anybody. If it was a group, if it was a one-on-one, I would just wait. I'll just have them run to me. I'm like, come on. They run, they'll come run at me, and I'll just like parry. Yep. All the time. That's how I played it.
And then once you get the split hilt,
oh yeah,
bro, untouchable. I'm untouchable. Unless
there's two of them in the room, like when you go back to areas and it's the bounty hunters and stuff like that, and they like two of them. Yeah, that's the only time. I got
the Imperial. Imperial. Send them in droves. Like once I get the split sabers over, like I'm gonna just wait because the first parry, and I'm splitting the sabers, and like I'll do it. Like I'll wait, I'll parry, split the saber, take out two people, put it together, and then do the force throw, the saber throw, the one that's close, cuts all of them down. It's over. Grab the saber, and I'm blocking and deflecting range attacks. Like I'm like, yo, this game is crazy. Like if you learn to play defensively with that game, like that's the only combat tip I can give about that game. Like just play defensively.
I just don't even know how to like that game right there, combat wise. I mean, obviously you can clean that up. You know what I mean? You can make it tighter. You can make everything for the sequel, but I just don't see what else they can do except for just the story, just like because the gameplay is there.
Add more abilities, like and that's about it. Like polish it, like polish the system a bit. Like, it still needs some work. There's still some issues with like because sometimes it'll clip. Yeah, sometimes it'll miss time. Like I think the knockdowns need some work because when you get knocked down, sometimes like you get stuck. And that's frustrating. But
you would make a jump. You grab that ledge, stuff like that. Like I said, it could be polished and everything.
Yeah,
but overall, it doesn't need a rebuild. Yeah, it doesn't need this huge like, oh my god, we changed this and that and that and this because we heard feedback and it wasn't for everybody and everybody didn't like that. I'm like, no, I love that Dark Souls vibe where
if they make it more of an offensive type style combat, I'm not gonna like it as much. Like I can
like what's that Force Unleashed type crap, you know what I mean? Like I mean I enjoyed Force Unleashed because it just made you go nuts with the force powers, but like that was pure. I call it like how popcorn movie. I call it a popcorn movie where that's just pure entertainment type of game where it's just like play around. Here's these crazy powers you can play around. This is like Fallen Order is strictly, story type gameplay.
And we knew Force Unleashed 2 wasn't canon. Like it wasn't this didn't really happen. Like it's really video game logic. Like this Fallen Order actually feels like the combat we see in the movies. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like none of any and everything that you do in the game combat wise feels like something that they would do on screen. So they need to keep and maintain that element of it for realism, and because it helps it to maintain that status as canon. Like
give me more parry moves, like like because after a while he kept just doing the same thing, like had me cycle through at least 4-5 different, like once you do a parry, you can do like a lightsaber this way, this, give me different like versions of the parry. That's it. That's all I would say. Give me some more.
Yeah, add more worlds, just stuff like that. Like not I mean the level the world building was great. Like I mean like Zepho feels like an entire universe by itself. Like goodness gracious, like all those worlds though. Like but yeah, I mean just grow the game, just keep it, take what you got and just expand on it, like and polish areas that need improvement, but overall don't change anything. Like don't make any drastic mechanic changes. Like don't do that.
You hear me, EA? You hear us, right?
Yeah, for real. Yeah, well, no, it's motive. It's motive. That's why, like EA is just a purse. Like let motive,
the purse, motive,
let motive do it because they've proven that they
Respawn, right?
Oh, no, Respawn. Excuse me. Yeah, it's Respawn Entertainment, not motive. Yeah. So let them. They've proven themselves, EA. So just if they ask for money, just give it to them. Like don't ask questions, just give it to them.
Don't be doing that whole we don't got enough money junk. Just give them the money.
You have more than enough money. You have plenty of money. Give it to them. They deserve it. They got Game of the Year. Like, come on now. Or nominated for Game of the Year. So, like, did they win?
I don't know if they won last year. I think Red Dead might have been that year.
Yeah, that's not a bad. I mean, wasn't a bad choice either. Like, I don't think any of the nominations.
Spider-Man, one of those two came out that year.
Yeah,
and
it was some tough competition. Like it has some staunch competition. But anyway, I think we're gonna wrap this episode up.
Yeah, let's do it.
P Rich, where can they find you on socials?
You can find me at Parko Rich on Instagram or Save the Airwaves on Instagram.
Where? And you can follow us on @Certified Gumbo on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Join us on Discord if you haven't already. I'm going to drop a link to the Discord into the chat right now. And there it is. If you haven't joined us over there on the Discord channel, please do. We talk about Star Wars, Marvel, DC, anything, sports, anything, all types of conversations 24/7, all throughout the day. And of course, this isn't the only show that we do on this channel. We have a Marvel channel. Oh, not a Marvel channel, a Marvel talk show live stream that we do every Friday after WandaVision at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also have the Cookout, which premieres 8 p.m. Standard Time, Eastern Standard Time on Saturdays, which is more, we talk DC, we talk Marvel, we talk entertainment as a whole. Various topics, and then this is of course the Star Wars show where we talk exclusively Star Wars and Star Wars only. Appreciate you all for joining us and showing support, because we've always had a steady amount of support and growing, so definitely appreciate that. Going to continue to provide great content, and looking forward to coming back next week to talk more, and as I always say, peace, love, blessings, and may the force be with you.